Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Breaking right now, the head armorer on the Alec Baldwin movie Rust has just filed an explosive lawsuit in connection with the deadly on-set shooting. And she's pointing fingers, including blaming Alec Baldwin himself. But first, look, media moves happen all the time. Chris Wallace moves to CNN. Kamala Harris spokesperson Simone Sanders goes to MSNBC. And at the less, paying shops, like, say, National Public Radio, moves of top talent should be expected on a regular basis as the bigger fish swallow up the best and brightest prospects. Well, that's happened at NPR, where a trio of notable names have left for greener pastures elsewhere in the media. But because they were all minority women, the media echo chamber is up in arms about how this must mean that NPR has problems retaining diverse talent, rather than just saying, good for them. They got better paying jobs. It began in September when Lulu Garcia Navarro left her position hosting NPR's Weekend Edition Sunday to host a podcast for the New York Times. Then in December, Noel King, a host on NPR's Morning Edition and Up First programs, took a job with Fox's Today Explained podcast. And then last week, Audie Cornish, the longtime host of NPR's flagship program, All Things Considered, announced she was on her way out, and on Monday, CNN announced it signed the 17-year NPR vet to host a weekly show on CNN Plus and contribute to the network. So NPR has apparently done a really good job of mining for top diverse talent. Good for them. But rather than celebrate these hosts' professional progress and good fortune, multiple outlets, including many from within NPR, began questioning whether NPR now has a diversity problem. Cornish's former All Things Considered co-host Ari Shapiro took to Twitter to blast the company for hemorrhaging hosts from marginalized backgrounds. Shapiro also shared a tweet from another NPR host who listed 6 former NPR hosts that left the company in recent years. He also had the Washington Post, Verge, and others openly question whether NPR was in a crisis over diversity issues. Forget the fact that NPR struggles to match the salaries that the competition can offer, or that in an era when everyone and their mom has a podcast, hosting a radio show isn't the prestigious job it once was. And of course, it can't be relevant that the top media companies are all now competing for top diverse talent. Look, I feel bad for NPR's flack, Isabel Lara, who had to respond with the obvious that many of those who left were poached by bigger companies with deeper pockets. Quote, the most successful podcast units in the most prestigious media organizations are led by former NPR staff. Looking at you, Washington Post, Slate, New York Times, Netflix, The Atlantic. The hosts left for bigger and better jobs, probably with more creative freedom. Hosting a show for CNN's an upgrade. Same can be said for hosting a podcast for the New York Times. Even Cornish seemed surprised by the public response to her departure. She went to Twitter on this lengthy thread about why she left and almost defended NPR. Every word of my announcement is true. I'm leaving of my own accord with no malice or resentment. Had a great run with a company full of people I respect and admire. And I'm ready to try something new. But see, that isn't a good enough story. It has to be that the network has a diversity problem. The same network that actually cultivated these voices. Talk about eating your own. In this media environment, you literally just can't win. Joining me now, Joanna Weiss, editor-in-chief of Experience Magazine and a contributing editor to Politico Magazine, and Celeste Headley, a journalist and public radio veteran and the author of Speaking of Race, Why Everyone Needs to Talk About Race and How to Do It. All right, Celeste, let me start with you. This, to me, as you can tell by my introduction, feels like the typical media hand-wringing when everyone has to bemoan diversity problems in a place that's actually had all these diverse people who are now going on to great jobs. It just feels like this typical sort of media controversy nonsense.
It might feel like that. I think this is a case of yes and. Yes, NPR has tried for decades to fix its diversity problem, a problem in which the network, the largest network in the public radio system, is largely white, overwhelmingly white. And they've been working on that for a very long time. and they do have trouble retaining the diverse talent that they recruit. Both of those things are true. I wouldn't necessarily call this hand-wringing because there is an issue. I don't think NPR is particularly worse off than all media companies. I just think that we have an issue in our business.
But here's why they can't retain talent, in my view, all right? It's that every media organization is now trying to poach and recruit top diverse talent. You can say it's to make up for past sins, whatever the reason is. They're all trying to do it now. Yeah, so a place that has a lot of people who come from either marginalized backgrounds or who are quote unquote diverse are going to get poached. And instead of just saying, yes, this is where we are, the media starts with they can't keep the diverse people because they have problems. Am I wrong?
I would say you're a little bit wrong. I mean, I think that if you look at NPR and some of the top talent in public radio and in public TV, for example, you will see that they often are more successful at finding ways to promote and advance the careers of many of their white talent. That's what the network was set up to do, or maybe more comfortable with that. And then there's a little bit of growing pains as they figure out how to not only recruit people from marginalized backgrounds, but also learn how to help them grow in their professional lives. So all of those things are true. But again, I want to emphasize this isn't just NPR's problem. This isn't just NPR's difficulty. Right. This is in all of journalism. I mean, look at the statistics, Dan. You can't argue with the statistics.
But the statistics now, there's no doubt, and let me go to Joanna Weiss on this, there's no doubt that every major media company is looking for diversity. They are actively trying to find people to fill various roles. And rather than just say, hey, that's a good thing, that's progress, instead we have all this typical whining in the media about how, well, that's a problem too. Do you disagree with me, Joanna?
Well, I think part of the context here and part of the reason that NPR is covering its own story and that people within NPR are talking and complaining about it, as reflected in the NPR story, is that for NPR, this is partly an existential question. NPR's audience is very loyal, but it's aging, and I don't think it's as diverse by their own admission as it could be. They really need to expand their audience, and I think they understand that to expand an audience, it helps to have diverse talent. It helps to have a broad range of talent and also a broad range of voices. What I think maybe they need to learn from this process is that part of the reason, I think you're right, that part of the reason that people are leaving is because they have more creative opportunities elsewhere as well as more financial opportunities. I mean, it's a great time to be a radio star because you don't even need radio to be a radio star. And all of these other platforms are creating, there are podcasts, there are, the streaming platforms. There's so many opportunities to do broadcast and to do broadcast in a voice that might be more your own than that standard NPR voice that everyone's familiar with. So I think NPR
and here's the ugly, and here's the ugly secret about it, it seems to me, is that people don't care about NPR that much. Meaning everyone in the media bubble cares about it. It's got a big audience still, but the bottom line is that people in the media industry all want to, NPR. The public at large doesn't care much about NPR. And I think, apart from small groups, particularly on the left politically, because there is no doubt that is what NPR targets, that is the audience of NPR. And it just seems to me that this is also wait a sec. I've got to ask Celeste. You're going to challenge me. I appreciate the face, so I'm going to come to you on it. You're going to challenge me on the fact that NPR doesn't target a left-wing audience.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the audience of NPR is pretty evenly split between liberals and conservatives.
Not true. That is not true. That is not true.
And not too many years ago, when they did a source audit, they found that NPR's sources and the people that they interview on the network actually leaned toward white male conservatives. That was the largest demographic that were represented among their guests. So I would say,
I don't know who their guests are, but I can tell you that NPR, the notion that NPR appeals to conservatives, I promise you, every conservative watching is laughing out loud now if they've ever listened to NPR. I'm sorry, but I will let you finish. Oh, okay. I'm going to try and get statistics on that.
Listen, terrestrial radio is still doing better than podcasts. That's just the truth. If you're going to add up all the numbers, terrestrial radio is still the king. Its death has been proclaimed many times before. And to say that nobody cares about at NPR, at the same time, do you say they still have a huge audience? That seems weird.
Here, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'll tell you exactly what I mean by that. That there's no passion behind it. They have a big audience. But the difference is the podcast audience is people are actually making an affirmative choice to listen to that. That is a much more passionate audience than something like NPR. Now, NPR still has a big audience, but it's a fraction
and a loyal
of what it used to be. It does have a loyal audience. It's true.
How do you not connect loyalty to passion?
It can be loyal that they listen all the time, and that there's going to be a small group of incredibly passionate, like a podcast that NPR has. But again, it's a left. And again, who cares what the political view is for the purpose of this conversation? I will get you the statistic. You know what? I will get for the public. I will either put it on this show, or I will put it on another show, or on social media. But yeah, the political leanings of NPR seems to me to be a non-issue. But Joanna, this issue of, well, this is a problem that we're seeing more broadly in the media as a whole, it doesn't seem to me it's a problem. It seems to me it's just the opposite, which is more media entities want diverse talent. That's not a problem. That's a good thing. That's a good thing that all these media entities are trying to poach top talent because they want to get them. Why is that to be criticized?
No, I think it is a good thing. And I think that NPR hopefully will recruit a whole lot more talent and a lot more diverse talent to fill the space left by the people who are moving on to bigger and better things. You know, I do think, to go back to what you were saying, there's a future question about media and how a legacy media outlet like NPR expands and builds an audience beyond the loyal audience that it has. I mean, I think about, my son who gets all of his media from YouTube, or my daughter who gets most of her media from TikTok. There's so much emerging media right now, and I think all the legacy outlets, and NPR maybe is one of the most legacy-like of the legacy outlets. Yeah. It's got formats that have been around for decades. They're going to need to learn to expand and to expand their voice, probably in order to recruit some of that new diverse talent.
Well, and I will say that Celeste is definitely right about the passion of the audience. That's true. The NPR audience, that left-leaning audience, is very passionate. All right, I will get it. Celeste Headley and Joanna Weiss, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Coming up, the name Ray Epps, riling up some who say the key to proving January 6th was an inside job. There are many questions that deserve to be answered, and tonight, we are examining the facts. It's up next. If you watched the Senate Judiciary hearings yesterday, you may have heard the name Ray Epps. And if you watch a lot of Tucker Carlson on Fox News or regularly read conservative publications like Breitbart, you know exactly who he is. He's the man who some have claimed is the key to proving there was a conspiracy from the inside on January 6th. Ray Epps, an Arizona man who works as the owner-operator of a wedding venue, was on video spurring on a crowd to breach the Capitol the night before the attack. The Texas senator also pressed her specifically on Epps, noting that the crowd around him was chanting, "Fed, Fed, Fed," because his behavior was suspicious to them.
Ms. Sanborn, was Ray Epps a Fed?
Sir, I cannot answer that question.
All right, so here are some of the facts before we talk to someone who knows a lot more. There's no evidence that Epps actually breached the Capitol or assaulted law enforcement on January 6th. That's the single most important fact. The government doesn't have the resources to bring case against every person who was at the Capitol protesting that day, nor should they, by the way. I've said before that I think even the people who did enter the Capitol but did no property damage and didn't assault anyone should not have the book thrown at them. And on January 6th, it seems Epps was actually trying to de-escalate the situation.
Take a step back. Take a step back. We're holding ground. We're not trying to get people hurt. They don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get hurt. Just back off.
As it turns out, the January 6th committee has already interviewed Epps, and under penalty of perjury, apparently he denied working with the feds. The committee issued a statement Tuesday which said Mr. Epps informed us that he was not employed by, working with, or acting at the direction of any law enforcement agency on January 5th or 6th or at any other time, and that he has never been an informant for the FBI or any other law enforcement agency. Now, here's why that's important. If he had struck some sort of immunity deal, right, that was the suggestion with why maybe his picture suddenly disappeared from the FBI Most Wanted. That kind of denial under oath would kill the deal, because if you lie, your deal is done. Adam Kinzinger, a Republican member of the January 6th committee, knocked down the Epps theory in a comprehensive Twitter thread on Tuesday, saying, "I'm pretty sure the FBI wouldn't be dumb enough to put their own agent on a wanted list." Now, there were questions about this guy, but I think that they have now been answered. But for more fact-based answers, we turn to Philip Bump, national correspondent for the Washington Post. He's out today with a comprehensive look at the Ray Epps theories. Philip, thank you so much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, so you've been looking at this for a number of months now. Take me through the evolution of this. How did this first sort of take hold?
It's a really important question, because the way it first took hold was that people were looking to validate the idea that federal agents were involved in what happened on January 6th. This didn't start with Epps. It didn't start with someone saying, "Hey, I know Ray Epps. I know that he's worked with the FBI before." It started with this idea, promoted most prominently by Tucker Carlson, that there were federal agents, particularly members of the FBI or FBI informants or people associated with the FBI, who on January 6th were responsible for spurring the violence. Now, Carlson always blurs that line. We're talking about thousands of people at the Capitol, hundreds entered the building. It's very, very hard to conceive that this was a function of one person. But again, he blurs the line. They're looking for people who meet this description, and everyone sort of settles on this guy Epps for two reasons. First, because he is filmed saying that thing about going into the Capitol the day prior, and then second, because he is filmed outside the barricade on January 6th itself. That's it. There's nothing else to suggest that, and there never has been anything else to suggest that he is a federal agent beyond the fact that they were looking for someone who seemed like they could fit this description, and then they settled upon Epps as that person.
Now, you note in your piece today that Tucker Carlson has done segments on Epps, almost 6 times?
At least, yeah.
Has this been something that has been widely reported at Fox News, for example, or has this just been something primarily on Tucker's show?
It's really been, Carlson has really been the one who's pushing this idea that the feds were involved in January 6th. He had this 3-part documentary that aired on Fox's streaming service that was really focused on promoting this conspiracy theory. He interviewed folks like Darren Beatty, who had been fired from the Trump White House for having spoken at a white nationalist conference. Beatty was really one of the first people who came out of the gates. He works for a right-wing media website, and he really pushed really started pushing this narrative about the feds being involved at the outset. He ended up sort of pairing up with Carlson. Carlson had Beatty on a show multiple times. And so Carlson has really been the nexus of this. I'm sure there have been other mentions of it on other Fox shows and with other Fox hosts, but Carlson is really the person who's been driving it.
All right, I got to ask you were listening to my previous segment, and you seem to always have information at your fingertips, in particular about media. And I was challenging my guest, who was saying that the audience was sort of evenly split between conservatives and liberals who listen to NPR. What say you, Philip Bump?
You're right on this one, Dan. It was the split. Pew Research Center did polling in April of 2020. The split was about 87% Democrats in the audience, 12% Republicans in the audience.
Shocker. Shocker. Who would have ever thought that NPR had a left-leaning audience? Philip Bump, thank you. It's important stuff you're doing. Philip Bump always sort of digging in on the statistics and facts. Appreciate it. You have one more thought?
Yeah, just very, very quickly. I do want to clarify. You keep referring to his being on a most wanted list. That's not the case. The FBI has a most wanted list. He was on this list of people who they wanted to talk to related to January 6th that had hundreds of photos on it. I just think that's an important point of clarification as well. That
is an important point of clarification, and that was something that, and I appreciate you clarifying that, because there's a big difference. Philip Bump, thanks. Coming up, the headlines have been around the world about tennis star Novak Djokovic's vaccine drama in Australia. But it seems many in the media are far more outraged than anyone else, including 2 anchors who got caught talking off camera about it. That's next. Time now for our Mediaite Moments, where we check in on the day's bias, buzz, and bull in the world of cable news and beyond. The #1 ranked tennis player in the world is at the center of a Controversy after the Australian government denied his formal entry into the country to compete in the Australian Open tournament. And it seems there is a real divide between how tennis fans and the media at large feel about it all. Novak Djokovic being unvaccinated, which generally violates Australian visa policy. His initial detainment at a hotel was not well received by fans who literally demonstrated on his behalf in the streets of Melbourne, where the Open is played. An Australian judge allowed him to leave that hotel because he had tested positive for COVID in December and had no, quote, acute major medical illness. But then some journalists dug up Djokovic's social media posts from when he had COVID, and, well, it didn't help him.
Do begin, though, with breaking news out of Australia. Tennis star Novak Djokovic is now admitting lies in his papers and admitting that he broke COVID protocols after testing positive.
Breaking news out of Australia. Djokovic admitted to a, quote, error in judgment. Many in the media were not as forgiving as his fans, starting with a sort of mild response.
The question here is, are there special rules for famous people? Are there special rules for prominent people? And the answer at first was, yes, come on in. Then the answer changed when there was outrage in the country in Australia from the Prime Minister. No, there are no special rules for you, Novak Djokovic, even though you're the defending champion.
You know, anytime the media can sort of seem outraged at apparent special treatment, it's a way to seem like they're fighting for you, everyday folks. And hey, is anyone really going to be mad at the media beating up on a rich Serbian tennis star? But Howard Stern probably better channeled the real thoughts of most Americans.
That Djokovic. What a The first I heard of this guy is that he doesn't want to get his vaccine. They should throw him right out of tennis. That's it. Goodbye.
Well, then there was this unscripted reaction from an Australian TV show that was picked up by cameras still rolling after the show had wrapped.
Whatever way you look at it, Novak Djokovic is a lying, sneaky.
He's an ass.
To go out when you know you're COVID positive. Well, I don't think he was even COVID positive. I don't think that form is true.
He got a excuse and then fell over his own lies.
It's still not clear if Djokovic will be allowed to compete in the Australian Open. What is clear is that, one, you probably have to be a hardcore tennis fan to defend him, and two, maybe you have to be a hardcore tennis fan to even care. That's our wrap-up of the day's Media Bias, Buzz, and the Bull, our Mediaite moments. Breaking ahead. A lawsuit has just been filed in the deadly shooting on the set of Alec Baldwin's movie Rust. The film's head armorer pointing fingers and naming names, including blaming Alec Baldwin himself. That's next. The well-oiled PR machine that is the British royal family may be petrified right now that some of their deepest secrets could soon be exposed in open court. Just after a federal judge paved the way for a sex abuse civil suit against Prince Andrew to go forward, meaning the Duke of York could soon have to give sworn testimony. And the alleged victims' attorneys have already promised to call other members of the royal family to testify as well. Now, if Andrew doesn't cooperate, the court could just render a judgment against him. Virginia Giuffre claims financier Jeffrey Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell gave her to Prince Andrew for sex 3 times 2 decades ago when Giuffre was 17 years old and the prince was 41. Prince Andrew has repeatedly denied it. In his opinion issued today, U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan rejected the Duke's lawyer's attempt at having Giuffre's lawsuit tossed on the grounds that she signed a legal settlement years ago with Epstein. The prince's lawyers argued that phrasing in the settlement protected their client against legal action by Giuffre. The judge didn't accept it. Suit now moves forward with the discovery phase. Giuffre's attorney, David Boies, has already said he plans to go after not just the prince, several members of the royal family, including possibly calling the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle, to give evidence. He's also told reporters he could call Sarah Ferguson, the Duke's ex-wife, or even his brother, Prince Charles. Don't worry, not the Queen. Also, potential fair game, Prince's private communications, including travel logs, emails, text messages. But all of that means headaches for Buckingham Palace that aren't going to go away for a long time. The lasting impact of a future trial on the royals' carefully curated reputation could be really devastating. Joining me now to discuss is attorney and legal analyst for Law and Crime, Dina Sayegdal. Dina, thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So what kinds of evidence do you think that will be turned over in discovery, realistically, that could be really embarrassing for the royal family or for Prince Andrew?
I mean, the discovery is broad here in the United States. You know, to depose a witness, they just have to show that there's a likelihood that they will get evidence from that witness that could be admissible at trial. So it's certainly his children. He used them as an alibi, and possibly other members of the royal family, if in those depositions they find out more information that leads them into an outer circle. Plus, his receipts, his emails, his texts, his medical records. He also mentions in the interview that he has a medical condition that he couldn't sweat. He opened the door there. Perhaps his finances. This here in the U.S., civil suits and depositions are quite broad, so quite a lot can come in.
All right. Now, David Boies, the lawyer for the plaintiff here, is saying, oh, we're going to be talking to all these different royals. I don't think any of these royals are going to have to testify, do you?
Possibly not. I mean, I do see his children because he uses them as an alibi. And if, in fact, during their deposition, they ask them questions about who else was there. You know, there was a party that Epstein was at, her 18th birthday party. Who else was there? Possibly it could lead to the outer circle, but most likely not.
And what if he just decides, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to get involved. I think that's what he may end up doing here. He may just say, forget it. You know what? You guys go ahead with this lawsuit, enter a judgment against me, and then as long as he doesn't come back to the United States, they can't implement the judgment, right?
I mean, I think it's possible. I could see him doing an appeal on this issue to see how far he can get in terms of knocking this out, because again, this is just a motion to dismiss. He can have an interlocutory review on it. But if that fails, he may very well try to settle the case, or as you say, default, rather than be subjected to having this enormous amount of personal information out there.
Yeah, I just don't think he or the royals are going to let it get to that point. Meaning, the reason David Boies is saying, we're going to call Meghan Markle, he just wants to put the heat on him to say, this is going to really stink for you. Come on, man. I mean, that's effectively what he's saying. Final quick thought.
Absolutely. And she has a history of settling her cases. She settled that case with Epstein.
Yeah.
She settled the case with Maxwell. So she may very well also be willing to settle here.
Yeah, we'll see if he is, because that would be very embarrassing, I think, if he ended up settling here. Dina, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
A traffic stop turns into a pursuit when a driver won't pull over, and when he finally does, officers are put in the line of danger. This explosive body cam is coming up next. We are on scene tonight with body cam and dash cam video from the New York City Police Department showing you the dangers that officers face every day. In newly released video, Officer Teresa Halley was driving an unmarked police car when she pulled over Brian Astorita on Brooklyn's Belt Parkway for speeding in his Jeep Grand Cherokee.
NYPD Highway Patrol, you are being recorded. You're doing 71 and a 50. License registration, please. See your license and registration, please. Stop the car!
Astorita admitted that his license was suspended. He also doesn't seem to have a license plate on the back. He then drove off, and Officer Halley ran back to her patrol car and chased the suspect, even passing his vehicle, trying to box him in and keep him from getting away. Astorita got by the officer on the shoulder, but Officer Halley was able to pull back in front of the driver, getting him to stop. Astorita rear-ended Officer Halley's car as he drove off. The back and forth continued for more than 2.5 miles. at times on a busy stretch of highway, with the suspect trying to swerve around Officer Halley, who kept trying to get him to stop. Backed up rush hour traffic, creating a dangerous situation with, of course, many innocent people on the road. Officer Halley was able to get the suspect to stop again as Officer Matthew Mellis provided backup. A witness was recording cell phone video as the suspect went to the back seat of his vehicle. Well, that's got to be video. No, see, that's the cell phone video. The other video that we just saw is actually got to be from the vehicle of the officers. Yeah, that's the cell phone. Yeah. The suspect pulled a weapon from the SUV. You heard the police tell the suspect repeatedly to drop the gun before he pointed it at officers, who opened fire. The weapon turned out to be a BB gun. Astorita was pronounced dead at the hospital. The officers were treated for minor injuries. No one else was injured. The incident is currently under review by the state attorney general's office. Joining me once again, Sean Stix Larkin, retired Tulsa police lieutenant. All right, Stix, this happened during rush hour on a busy highway, and that changes the rules of engagement for officers. They have to be that much more careful.
Yeah, anytime an officer is involved in a pursuit, one of the things we're constantly going to evaluate, both the officer themselves that is in the chase as well as a supervisor, that's what we call a pursuit monitor. They're listening to what's going on, and they're going to make decisions about the pursuit as well. The decision to pursue the suspect, is it worth the risk to the public, to the officer, or even to the suspect? Being this was a traffic violation, they're out there on the highway, the pursuit, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't dangerous in itself, just with the pursuit. It's the very end by the suspect's actions that led to this, high-risk situation.
Yeah, and the fact that he's pointing a BB gun at the officers, that does make you wonder, did he want to get shot, right?
Yeah, obviously nobody other than the.
All right, looks like we may have lost Stix. You're back. Yeah, okay. You're back. Yeah, you froze.
I apologize. Other than
You're frozen again. All right. You know what? And I said before on this that he didn't have a license plate. I think it may have just been that we blurted out more that the police did on the video. But wow, you watch this. And let me do that. He grabbed out. I want to play that key moment again when he, right here when they stop him and he pulls out the gun. Let's listen to it one more time. That is not a moment that any officer wants to have. And an important reminder, it is a moment that most police officers in America never have. Most police officers in the United States never have fired their weapon in the line of duty. It is very important to remember that as we do these segments where we show you some of the most harrowing moments involved in police work. That is a critical thing to remember, that for the officers themselves, this is not every day. This is incredibly stressful. And that decision to pull the trigger can be a very, very difficult one. Sorry we lost Sean Larkin. He just texted me. Let's see if he said anything. Hopefully he's saying, you know what, Dan, he said, he just says tomorrow this will be taken care of. That's not good enough, Stix. Come on, man. What about today? By the way, we love hearing from you, the viewers. You want to zoom in on the show live? Come on the show. Tell me what I'm getting wrong, what I'm getting right. NewsNationNow.com/DAL for Dan Abrams Live. Keep the discussion going. Join us. That does it for us tonight. News Nation Prime with Marnie Hughes starts right now. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.